Hey guys, it is Jordan from Team Twisted, and we got a little video for you today on the new specialist that was released or revealed today. This is the Firebreak specialist, the ninth specialist in Black Ops 3 multiplayer, which I kind of hinted a little bit yesterday, and you saw the video of the gameplay. But this is video coming straight from Treyarch. So they finally announced it today, October 9th, BO3 Fridays. The weapon ability is called a Purifier, which is a flamethrower weapon which is supposed to be able to clear the rooms of objectives at short distance. And the gameplay actually looks like it's kind of overpowered them. But it's supposed to be the highest specialist, so I can kind of see why that is so strong. And then the ability is Heat Wave, so when you activate the Heat Wave, it's just a little wave. David Von described it as if you're going from like air conditioned to like 70-ish degrees to like 100 degrees. That's kind of like the heat wave that it would be, and it would set those people on fire. So there's a couple other videos that are going to come out today. This is just a little quick one of what we're seeing. Next couple videos are going to be the new map, so the theater mode that I also said that they're going to put some details about, and then we're also going to talk about the taunts and gestures feature that was revealed as well. So the videos, the links those will be in the description or on screen. And then I'll see you guys in either one of those videos. Thank you for watching.
as a weapon that you could actually earn through progression at the very highest level. And you know, that was last gen. Of course, every time we move to another generation of technology, we go back to the core components of fire and water.
Fire and water.
So
we're quite elemental.
Yeah, it looks amazing. It's so much fun to use. It's great for clearing out rooms. That's sort of his specialty. Firebreak's big thing is that he is kind of uniquely designed to be a room clearing kind of specialist, and he's a master of the close range.
Well, and Vaughn, as you mentioned, there are two elements to the specialist. There are their offensive weapon, but also their ability. What is Firebreak's ability in this case?
So Firebreak's ability is called Heat Wave, and here's a way you can relate to this, possibly relate to this, is if you're in an air-conditioned, very comfort building that's running at 72 to 75 degrees, and you step outside into 100-degree stifling heat, and that sort of blast that comes through is, what the Heat Wave's ability is. It's very incapacitating. The players can't breathe. They're stunned, and it's such a powerful blast that it actually takes out any kind of equipment. So the ability is really fun to sort of, if you find yourself, maybe outnumbered, and you get into a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-1 situation. I mean, pop into a room, hit the Heat Wave, put everybody into a stun state, and then take them out one by one. It's great for room clearing in that regard. It's great for jumping on objectives, and it's a very fun sort of instant. Let me have an advantage in this moment.
So it's immobilizing, but does it also do damage, or is it purely just kind of that tactical ability?
Yeah, it does damage to equipment. It doesn't damage people. It's no specialist ability is supposed to do direct damage to a player. That was the design intent.
Dan, you mentioned that it's kind of Firebreak's really good for room clearing. Is this kind of an objective-minded specialist choice? Do you think that people are going to really flock to this for modes like hardpoint domination?
I think, every specialist we've designed has been done with the intent of making sure that players have nuances of tactics they can use with each one in any kind of game mode. We don't want to make any specialist overly powerful in a certain game mode, because we don't want people to overly gravitate towards that. But he is, by the nature of being a room clearer, he is the kind of character that's you're going to want to partner with to go in and take over a hardpoint objective, say, for example. Because hardpoint, oftentimes, they're in interiors, which means that the defending team has an advantage. They can hold down those choke points, the doorways, the windows, and they can keep the other players out. With Firebreak, you can have a guy basically suppressing into the room while he just busts in and busts out his flamethrower and torches the whole place and clear out the room, get your team in there.
Well, and similar to the map design question, I think it raises a good point about the specialist system as well. Like, how did you go about kind of thinking, like, we needed a character that's really good for kind of objective modes, or was it more like we just need a badass flamethrower guy? Like, what was the thought process?
Yeah, this was a fun one, and it actually goes back quite a way. In the the earliest days of the development of the specialist feature, we were calling them heroes, and we were really sort of inspired by all the things that you'd think about sort of from an archetypal character creation type process, right? Wizards and warriors and all these kind of non-traditional Call of Duty-like inspiration. So the design team was working on that sort of what are the types of archetypes in video games, and then to some degree how to make that Call of Duty appropriate, of course. And then the narrative and fiction, those guys at the same rate are looking at, what is this character named, and where's he or she from, and what motivates him, and what would they look like?
He's a fire mage, right?
Yeah, it's a fire mage.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and like Vaughn said, we took inspiration from a lot of different places. We really started kind of, the core idea was, let's go find these really big archetypes, these big personalities, and bring those things that may not live or you may not expect from the Call of Duty universe into our universe, and make them feel like they've got gear, they've got technology, these are soldiers, they're military. And that was the process that we went through from a creative point of view. One example is Nomad, that everyone remembers from the beta, is basically a druid. I mean, he was we had pictures of like tree characters, and like he's the guy who can conjure up nature to use to his benefit. So his weapon is the hive gun, which shoots these little traps that have nanobot swarms. So he's like conjuring up the bees, and his ability is he can revive himself. So it's this very, in his case, it was a very fantasy inspiration, but we brought him into, he's also one of our most rugged military kind of archetype characters in the game.
But anti-technology in a way.
Yeah, kind of anti-technology is sort of the
and they all have stories like this, right? Battery's a military brat, right? So that part of it inspires the gameplay and vice versa, right? So it wasn't like it must be a flamethrower, right? But sometimes it must be a flamethrower and it must be called Purifier, right? It just depends. It depends on the specialist, where we were in the development, what people were gravitating to and got people excited.
Yeah, well, I think everybody kind of gravitates to someone. Like, I during the beta just couldn't stop using Outrider. She was my favorite. And I'm curious to kind of see how people gravitate towards Firebreak. But enough questions from me. Again, a part of this whole stream is to really get the fans to be able to answer their question, or have you answer their questions for you. So, when we put out the call, and again, this is for anybody who tweets with the hashtag BO3Fridays, one of the most resounding questions that just kind of came from all sides was theater mode. I know you guys have kind of quietly made a few casual mentions, but I think now that you're here and I can put you on the record, is theater mode coming back, and if so, in what capacity?
Theater mode's absolutely coming back. It is, this is a journey we started down on Black Ops 1 with theater, and originally we had, it grew out of a development tool actually, which our game had the ability to replay back, gameplay experiences you'd had, just so that you can, for debugging purposes and whatnot. And we expanded that into a system that it was actually fun for fans, and that's how theater started and came to be. And through each project we have evolved that and we've made it better. We have added more capabilities. If you remember last with Black Ops 2, we had the ability to lock a camera onto a piece of equipment, for example, so you could chase it through a scene. So this game is going to be bigger and better than before.
Huge focus on usability, right? I mean, it's actually, by all measures, a fairly complex feature. And what we have is a controller, which has a limited number of buttons and options and sticks to work with. So, user experience and user experience design has been a really big part of the project from the very beginning. And so we really sort of doubled, even tripled down with theater and trying to be sure that those features are great. Social features are really important to Treyarch, and they always have been. But they need to be usable because you need everyone to use them, not just the theater experts or the emblem editor creator experts or the paint shop pros, right? You want to make those tools and those features really accessible to people.
Well, and I think a lot, the environment's changed quite a bit. Like, I mean, you guys were kind of ahead of the game. You introduced live streaming right from within the console. Now every next-gen console has streaming built in. With tools like this, and in partnership with the specialist system, I think we're going to see some amazing creations.
Yeah, theater still matters, right? Yeah. Because you're not going to be able to attach cameras to objects with platform-provided live streaming or video capture features. You're not going to be able to show the view of other players with those features. So theater still matters for content creators in a big way.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what people come up with. All right, so Wesley asks, what level do you have to be to prestige? Which I guess it just roughly accounts to what is kind of like that max level in multiplayer.
I think we had this in the beta, but you want to answer that?
That's 55 levels, 10 levels of prestige, and then something particularly special after that. So when you do all that, you're not done, but it's not more prestige levels, and hopefully we can tell you about that in the future.
Yeah, that is sufficiently
and weapon
cryptic.
prestige is back.
Yeah, weapons, characters. I mean, the progression loops in this game are significant, and you're stacking them, so you're not like picking one. You're obviously leveling up yourself. You're leveling up whatever gun you're using, and you're leveling up your specialist all at the same time.
All right, and then the next question comes from Haptic Rush. This one comes from Germany, all the way from Germany, through the magic of the internet. Will there be reimagined maps of fan favorites? And he specifically called out, he or she called out Raid.
Actually, that's fun. Raid gets asked about a lot. I think it was, in the stack ranking of the most popular maps of all time in the franchise, that was like in the top 2 or 3. I know the fans love Raid. I can't say that it's coming back. I can't say it's not coming back. I can say that we are definitely looking at reimaginings, and we may have some news in the short term, maybe by the end of the year. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Raid, when how awesome that map turned out for people. But the movement system's different, and there are changes between previous games and this game. So if you're going to do that, you have to look at it long and hard and carefully, and you have to think about what the delta is. If we literally took any map from Black Ops 2 or Black Ops 1 and just stuck it in Black Ops 3, I promise you it actually won't play the way that you think it would, and it won't. So we need to be careful about that.
We do have one reimagined map that we have already announced, which is Nuketown.
Yeah.
Nuketown's coming back for pre-orders, so it's and it's a pretty it's a sweet.
It's similar enough, right? It feels very Nuketown to me. It's just as insane.
But it's in this kind of crazy fiction that we have in the world.
Yeah.
It's pretty over the top, but it's also awesome. We just played it last night, and it's so much fun.
It was really fun last night. Just like.
Well, hopefully we'll hear about it soon, maybe. All right. Matt asks, will Black Ops 3 have offline split screen for MP and zombies?
Yes, so it's 4-player split screen offline, and it's 2-player split screen online, similar to the way we handle it with Black Ops 2.
Cool. All right. Next up, we've got Charlie, who asks, what new MP feature was the hardest to get or most rewarding to make?
Ooh.
It's a tough one.
Yeah. For me, definitely core movement was the hardest to get right and the most satisfying in the end, without a doubt. The journey of the core movement system, particularly thrust jumping and wall running, but thrust jumping, I mean, the game, when you play it now, it seems really natural, like, and the connection of all the core movement mechanics together feels like we always knew that would be okay and would be fine, but that wasn't.
There was a time where that wasn't the case.
No, it was months. It was months of time. And I've been very open about this, that there was moments I thought we had gone insane, and I didn't know if we were. I had doubts. I had doubts if we were doing the right thing. And the team was resilient, and we worked hard to figure out sort of the delta between what made previous Black Ops games motion fun. And really, I mean, there was this, it's not as simple as one moment, but Dan actually said, I want you to take Black Ops 2 home this weekend, and I want you to play it. Because I hadn't played it in a while. We've been working on Black Ops 3. And I did take it. I took Black Ops 2 home, and I played it, and I came back, and I'm like, what?
I want to jump higher. I want to slide.
It didn't feel right anymore.
Yeah.
It didn't. Yeah. And honestly, and that was this is a very personal thing, but that was the moment for me personally where I'm like, okay, now I know what to do and what direction to give and what coaching to give to get this thing where it needs to be. It was really that moment.
I want to pick a different one because Vaughn did that one, but it's like that is just hands down the most difficult thing that we did, because it really just turned over everything that we knew about map design, which we'd worked for so long to figure out. And this is why it was the idea that really started the project for multiplayer. I mean, it was the first feature that we went after at the beginning of 2013. It was like this is a big change. This is something that's scary. We need to do this right now and try to figure out what impact does it have on the game, and how do we rebuild the game around this.
Yeah, well, and I think the beta probably was a bit of a reaffirmation a little bit, seeing like how people were using it and kind of witnessing what users were doing. Mm-hmm. And Vaughn, I know you just did an extensive blog post for our friends at PlayStation, kind of talking about some of the changes. But
as extensive as that was, it still wasn't the complete list.
Yeah,
no, we're close.
Because we actually have some additional questions as well. So, Rizby asks, in the beta, spawn trapping was a bit of an issue. Will this be fixed in the final experience?
Yeah, so we've actually done work in all 4 of those maps, and then with the spawn system itself. And Matt Scharantz, who's one of the system designers that we work with, has been working very aggressively to make sure that we understand, for example, this is just one example in domination, if we, how to flip the spawns for safety. So how do you define what a trap is? How much trapping is acceptable and when to flip. And that, so it's actually this very deliberately designed kind of idea. I mean, we have to talk to the fans about and make sure we understand their definition of what a trap means and how bad a trap is, because part of domination is to trap and lock people down. But you don't want that to be so frustrating to the other side where they can't fight out. And you know what? That's actually a map-to-map problem. It depends on how big the lanes are going into the, the C or the A flag, how many ways out, and and how protected the spawns are. So it's actually a very challenging problem. But yeah, we learned a lot from the beta about which of those 4 maps have which problems and how to address those. And you know how we are. We're not going to stop working on the spawns. The more we play, the more the fans play, the more data we have about the definition of a bad spawn and the adjustments that we can make. And we can do a lot of those adjustments now actually with the game settings updates without the need to patch.
And we developed, coming out of the beta, we developed a whole system that we didn't have before, which was the ability to detect those spawn trap situations. And when that happens, it actually opens up spawns in the map that you wouldn't normally have open in that game mode. So we've done a lot of work against it since that time.
Another question kind of comes from that the beta, in terms of like kind of the tweaking of weapons. Comarm Gaming asks, in the beta there was a lot of recoil in some guns. Will the recoil still be the same in the game?
So no. The recoil in some guns will be the same, and other guns it'll be different. Gun kick and view kick, those are the 2 principal things that generate recoil, as well as bullet flinch, which is obviously worth talking about too. All 3 of those things generate the concept of kick and flinch. And these things are, you never get them right the first time. You have to take time to sort them out, and you need a sort of sustained length of time to understand how the gun's performing. And I think we've learned over the years, like, in the early, maybe Black Ops 1 we were hesitant to make changes to the game. And then Black Ops 2 we were less hesitant to make changes. And I'm telling you, on Black Ops 3 you better get used to stuff changing, because we're going to change it.
But it speaks to the philosophy of weapons on this game as opposed to Black Ops 2. We've globally tried to reduce the amount of recoil on guns just to make them more user-friendly and to feel better, because that is one of those components that, when players feel like the gun is getting out of their control, it's going out of that cone of fire that they're trying to aim towards, it feels like the game is taking over and it's not their control. So that's just as a philosophy about weapons, we've tried to reduce that.
All right, and Speakeasy01 asks, are there offline bots in MP? Or can there be?
Yeah.
Yes, there will be, just like in Black Ops 2.
Yeah.
All right. Robert asks, and I think this one's pointed at you, Vaughn. What are the taunts and gestures for?
Oh, man. No.
Taunts
I know.
and gestures.
Yeah. Let me just be on record that I'm still in trouble about that one. Yeah, there is a taunt gesture feature. And it's a simple thing that we're currently working through all the details of, sort of designed where, as part of the customization of a specialist, you can decide, how your player can and will react, and it's everything from, a true taunt-like thing, but it also is, hey, good game type stuff, right? It's and when at the end of the game, if you're, in that winner circle at the end, and you're in the the number 1 spot, for example, you can actually activate whatever your chosen, selected gesture on. It's just a social feature for players that we've had on the books for a long time, but it wasn't quite. People discovered the kind of half-hidden version in the beta that they weren't supposed to find, but they did, and it'll be there for the game, and we have some actually really interesting long-term plans for that feature as well.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's people got the top scorer screen, which we've rebranded, I guess, to the winner's circle, because there were some complaints about top scorers.
Top scorers.
But that's another piece of feedback that came out of the beta.
Yeah.
The top guy, the guy who is the number 1 player on the winning team.
The winning team only.
His specialist gets a special taunt. So that is, it's a line of dialogue that is an extension, again, more of that personality. We want to keep bringing the personality of each specialist back in. So it's an extension of his personality. It's a custom line and a custom animation. And then the gestures are, just fun little things you can do while he's doing his taunt, and then once he's done with his taunt, he can do his gestures.
Well, now that I've sufficiently put you on the spot, I'm going to toss you a couple more easier ones. Number Sky 1 asks, will there be a hardcore playlist in MP?
Yeah, there's a whole hardcore playlist category. So the currently designed playlist categories are core, hardcore, and bonus. So bonus will have all the sort of unusual stuff like Ground War or Merc Mosh Pit. Hardcore will have a few hardcore game modes. Core will have every game mode. Look, I know there's an active and passionate, very passionate hardcore fan base, and we're not ignoring the hardcore guys.
Okay.
And gals.
All right, and very last question. This one comes from Brian. He asks, will Diamond Camo return in Black Ops 3?
Absolutely, Diamond Camo will return, and we always like to one-up ourselves, so there might be something even a little special after that.
What could possibly be after Diamond?
We'll have to see
exotic
on
maybe.
November 6th, I guess.
Oh, I can hear Cole Nelson crying in his office right now that we've even suggested that such a thing might exist.
Oh, he's getting in
Might.
trouble.
We're not promising. We're just saying hypothetically there might be something.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. I know you.
That was fun.
Yeah. This is it's gonna be an exciting
for having us.
couple of weeks, and I know you guys have a lot going on, so I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, of course.
And to everyone watching, I know it's you guys are really excited for launch. So, but remember, we're just getting started. This is going to be a regular series again every Friday at noon Pacific time. We've got more exciting news in store, and again, you can tweet your questions with the hashtag BO3 Fridays with the opportunity to have the devs answer them on stream. So again, thank you so much for watching. On behalf of everyone at Activision and Treyarch, thanks again, and we'll see you next week.
Pre-order now and get the Nuketown bonus map.